My company didn't fire me when they decided to steal my work. They just asked me to be a team player while they handed my entire project to the guy who knew how to talk louder than me. I'm not dramatic. I'm not the flip the table, storm out of the office type. I'm the guy who fixes broken dashboards at 11 p.m. and sends the update email no one reads. The guy whose name gets left off the slide even when the code is mine, top to bottom. My name's Ethan, and for 6 months I lived for one thing, a product called Halo. Officially it was Halo, a predictive maintenance platform for industrial hardware. Unofficially it was my shot, my baby, my way out of the quiet, reliable guy box I'd been sealed into since my first day at Vantage Systems. 6 months of late nights. 6 months of cleaning up other people's data. 6 months of arguing with servers that overheated more than our CEO did. I tuned models, built the interface, wrote documentation so detailed even a manager could understand it. On paper, Halo had a cross-functional team behind it. In reality, team meant me, writing code, a junior dev copying my commits, a product manager who forwarded emails and called it alignment. At first, I didn't mind. I've always worked better alone. Let other people fight over whose name goes first. I just wanted to ship something that actually worked. The turning point came on a Monday morning that already smelled wrong. You know это чувство, когда офис выглядит так же, но воздух другой. The same gray carpet, the same two bright lights, the same rows of desks, and sad spider plants. But the voices are pitched a little higher, and people close laptops faster when you walk past. I swiped my badge, dropped my backpack at my desk, and woke my monitors. My inbox was a graveyard of CCs. One subject line sat at the top, bold and smug, mandatory. Halo Strategy Alignment, 10 Beers Conference Room B, sent by my manager, Karen. I checked the time. 9:07. I glanced over the divider. My junior dev, Priya, gave me a quick, tight smile, and then immediately looked back at her screen like it might explode. Across the aisles, someone laughed too loud at something that wasn't funny. "Did you get the invite?" I asked her. She nodded, eyes on her keyboard. Everyone did. Everyone. I opened the calendar event. Attendees: Karen, Director of Product; Liam, Senior Solutions Lead; Head of Sales; some VP I'd only ever seen in town hall slide decks; me, as engineering, not lead, just engineering, as if it was a single department fused into one body and I was a handy limb. The pit in my stomach got heavier. At 9:59, I grabbed my laptop and walked to Conference Room B. The glass walls made it feel like a fish tank with fluorescent lighting. Karen was already there. Stiff posture, perfect blazer. Liam stood at the far end, hands in his pockets, white teeth flashing as he joked with the VP. He's the kind of guy management loves. Loud, tall, always a story, always a handshake, always crushing it, man. His slides are mostly buzzwords, but he knows when to say them. "Ethan," Karen said like she'd just remembered I existed. "Great, you're here. Take a seat." No small talk, no "how's Halo going?" Just a gesture toward the middle chair, not at the head, not at the far end. In the middle. Neutral ground, containment. I sat, the door shut. Karen folded her hands. "So, Halo?" The VP, a man with an expensive haircut and tired eyes, leaned forward. "I've been hearing good things." I waited for someone to look at me. They didn't. Karen clicked the remote. The TV on the wall lit up with my interface, my charts, my color scheme, my stupid little loading icon I designed at 2 a.m. one night because the default one annoyed me. "Over the last 6 months," she began, "our team has made significant progress on Halo. We're now at the stage where we need to prepare for the investor demo in 3 weeks. Investor demo. No one had told me it was that close. She clicked through screenshots of the dashboard, the anomaly detection graph, the alert configuration menu, the export panel. All mine. "Liam," she said, "why don't you talk us through the positioning?" He smiled like this was his cue in a play he'd been rehearsing for. "Sure, So, from a client perspective, Halo is less about the algorithm and more about peace of mind. We're selling predictability, control. We want to frame it as. His words blurred into static in my head. I watched his finger draw arcs in the air over my work, claiming space. Nobody said, Ethan built this. Nobody looked at me for confirmation. I was a chair with a badge. I cleared my throat. The sound was small in the glass room. Before we get too deep into messaging, I said, we should probably talk through the actual feature set for the demo. There are still a few edge cases on the alert thresholds. I haven't. Karen cut me off with a smile that felt like a warning. We'll get to the technical details. Right now, we're focused on ownership of the narrative. Ownership. The word landed heavy. The VP nodded. Exactly. We need a single face on this. Someone who can represent the vision internally and externally. Consistency matters. Karen inhaled like she was about to announce the winner of a contest. Which is why, she said, sliding a printed document across the table toward me, for the purposes of the demo and the go-to-market strategy, we're designating Liam as the official project lead for Halo. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. I looked down. The document was a project leadership transfer and responsibility. Confirmation. There was a line with my name under outgoing technical owner, and a line with Liam's under incoming project lead. My signature box was empty. The VP watched me, face neutral. Liam leaned back, hands folded behind his head, like he'd just sunk a three-pointer. I don't understand, I said. My voice didn't crack. It just sounded smaller than I wanted. You're taking me off my own project? Karen tilted her head. No one is taking you off anything. You'll still be heavily involved on the engineering side. But I won't be presenting, or leading, or owning it, I said slowly. You've done incredible work, she replied in the same tone she used in performance reviews, right before saying, however. But this next phase is about storytelling and relationships. Liam has more exposure with the investors and the sales org. It's a better strategic fit. Liam jumped in, palms up, like he wanted to look humble. Hey man, this doesn't change what you've done. You're still the brains. I'm just the front man. I stared at the signature line. Is there a problem? The VP asked. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say this is theft, and you're rewarding charisma over work. And if it breaks during the demo, don't look at me. Instead, I felt my throat tighten in that familiar way. My heart beat somewhere behind my eyes. I thought of my rent, my student loans, the health insurance that let me afford the medication my dad still couldn't get through his job. This isn't exactly fair, I managed. Karen's smile thinned. No one is questioning your contribution, Ethan. This is a company decision. We need your support. We don't have time for ego. Ego. That was the word that did it. They stole the thing I'd built and called my resistance ego. The VP checked his watch. We're all under pressure, he said. Let's not drag this out. We need everyone aligned. Can you sign, Ethan? Everyone looked at me then. Not like I was a person, like I was an obstacle. There are moments in your life where your future is just a blank hallway and one door. This felt like that. I could walk out. I could refuse. I could make a scene and send my badge sliding across the conference table like in a movie. I pictured HR, the job market, the fact that companies talk. My hand shook a little as I picked up the pen. I noticed that, stupidly, the pen was branded with our logo, as if even the ink belonged to them. I signed under outgoing technical owner. My name looked smaller than usual. I got used to being invisible at work. But the day after I signed that paper, I learned something worse. You can be invisible and exploited at the same time. The office looked normal the next morning. Keyboards clacking, microwaves humming, people pretending they weren't reading Slack drama. But when I walked past the open meeting room, I heard my own features being presented in a voice that wasn't mine. And then we'll claim the alert recalibration was a late breakthrough, Liam said. Claim. I stopped just outside the doorway. Through the glass, I saw him standing in front of a whiteboard, gesturing with someone else's confidence, pointing at diagrams I'd drawn at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. 3 sales reps nodded like they were witnessing genius. But Ethan says the model still needs, one of them began. Liam cut her off without missing a beat. Ethan worries too much. We need a clean story. Investors don't want caveats. They want confidence. They want confidence, not truth, not the actual working version. It felt like a hand pressed against my chest from the inside. He clicked to the next slide. My interface, my code, my weird loading icon. This dashboard, he said proudly, was something I've been refining for a while. The trick is giving clients something beautiful that still feels simple. A while. I'd written the first version before he even knew Halo existed. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was they all believed him. I stepped back from the window. For a full 10 seconds, I just stood there, breathing in and out, quietly, like you do before a doctor gives you results. I wanted to walk in. I wanted to say, name one function in the back end. Spell it. I wanted to rip the HDMI cable out of his laptop and watch the screen die in his hands. But anger at work makes you a problem. Silence makes you a team player. So I turned and walked toward the kitchen instead. The coffee tasted metallic that day. Or maybe that was just me. 2 hours later, Karen called me into her office. Ethan, she said, smiling like she'd practiced it in the mirror, we need you to clean up the threshold logic by Friday. The demo requires a polished output. You mean the part Liam said was done? I asked. Her eyes narrowed for half a heartbeat before she recovered. This isn't about credit. It's about hitting milestones. Of course it was. I nodded, left the room, and sat at my desk, trying to remember when work stopped feeling like work and started feeling like humiliation. The day dragged. People passed my desk, excited, buzzing about the big pitch, talking loudly about things they didn't build. And then someone new walked in, a man I'd never seen before. Dark jacket, worn leather bag, neutral expression. He looked like the kind of person who'd blend into any crowd, not ignored, just unnoticed. There's a difference. He went to the front desk, spoke quietly, then Karen herself rushed out to greet him. Oh, you're early. Great. We appreciate you doing this on short notice. Short notice for what? He followed her through the office, glancing around as if he was cataloging the place, absorbing its dynamics in a single sweep. His eyes stopped on me for a moment. Not long, not invasive, just a small, curious pause before he continued toward the conference room. I didn't know it then, but that look would change everything. At 3 p.m., Liam swaggered into my aisle, spinning a pen between his fingers. Hey, man, he said, leaning on the divider. Karen told me you'd tighten up the model for the demo. Appreciate it. I stared at him. You know, there are still edge cases. He shrugged. There are always edge cases. We just won't mention them. That's not how this works. That's how storytelling works, he corrected, flashing his award-winning grin. Stay in your lane, Ethan. I'll handle the room. Something in me snapped. Not loudly, not visibly. No fireworks, no slammed drawers. More like a very small wire finally breaking inside a very old machine. I closed my laptop. Do you even understand what you're presenting? I asked quietly. He laughed. Actually laughed. Dude, relax. It's not a PhD defense. Investors don't care about the code. They care about the confidence. Which I have, and you don't. He walked away before I could respond, probably on purpose. Behind me, someone whispered, That's messed up, but didn't say it loud enough to matter. The humiliation settled deeper this time. Not sharp, heavy, like wet cement. Around 5 p.m., I stepped outside to get air I wouldn't have to swallow. The stranger from earlier was standing near the loading dock, talking on his phone in a low voice. When he noticed me, he ended the call with a short, I'll take care of it. He nodded politely. Long day? I gave him the corporate safe smile people reserve for elevators and tight hallways. Something like that. He looked at me for a second longer than strangers usually do. I heard your name in a meeting. My stomach dropped. Yeah? In what context? In the context where people say they value integrity, he replied, right before they ignore it. I froze. He hit the edge of a smile, just a fraction. Don't worry, I don't work for your boss. I'm just here to observe. Observe what? Patterns. He checked his watch and headed for the side door. Good luck with the presentation, he added. You're going to need it. I didn't know what that meant. I wouldn't understand until later. But something in his tone felt final. And he was right about one thing. This wasn't the end. Not even close. This was the moment the ground started shifting under their feet. But that was just the beginning. The morning of the investor demo didn't feel like a workday. It felt like the day you know a storm is coming. But the sky is still pretending to be blue. People were moving too quickly, talking too loudly, laughing in that brittle way that means they're terrified. The office had replaced coffee with adrenaline. Even the plants looked stressed. I took my usual seat at my desk, opened my laptop, and tried not to think about the fact that in 4 hours, a man who couldn't explain a single function of my code would be presenting Halo to investors who could change the future of the company. At 9:13 a.m., Liam strutted across the office holding a stack of note cards, practicing lines like he was auditioning for a commercial. Halo's detection engine uniquely identifies failure patterns. The dashboard offers unprecedented insight. I personally oversaw the development. Personally, I almost laughed. At 9:27, the stranger from yesterday walked into the main conference room with a laptop bag in hand. Karen followed him closely, fluttery and tense. She kept introducing him as, "This is Victor. He's handling the technical side of the live stream today." Technical support. Funny title for someone who looked like he'd worked undercover at some point in his life. He gave me a single glance as he set up cables. An acknowledgement, nothing more. But it felt loaded, like he already knew how the day would end. The hour before the demo was a blur. Liam rehearsed. Karen hovered. Sales paced. The VP prayed to whatever gods protect PowerPoints. And me? I just sat there, watching them finalize the theft of my work like it was a group project in high school they'd decided I didn't deserve credit for. At 11:58, Karen approached me. "You'll sit off camera," she said. "If anything breaks, signal quietly and we'll adjust." "Signal?" I asked. "Like a stagehand?" She frowned. "Ethan, this is a big opportunity for all of us. Don't make this difficult." I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. The live stream began at 12:03. The intro music played. The investors appeared in little boxes across the screen. Liam stepped into frame with a confident smile that wasn't earned. "Welcome, everyone," he began. "My name is Liam Rhodes, and I'm the lead architect behind Halo." That sentence was the knife. Sharp, clean, and twisted with a smile. I stared at the floor, jaw tight. Breathing slow. This was happening. They'd won. I'd lost. Then something strange happened. The screen behind Liam flickered. Just once. Barely noticeable. He kept talking. "A platform designed to revolutionize..." Flicker. Karen looked toward Victor. He didn't react. The third flicker wasn't subtle. The feed stuttered, froze, then jumped to a different screen entirely. A video. A video none of us had prepared, except someone had. The footage was grainy at first, then sharpened. Karen's office. 2 days ago. Her voice unmistakable. "Ethan is too cautious. He can handle the grunt work, but we need someone charismatic, up front." Then Liam's voice. "He'll sign whatever we put in front of him. He hates conflict." The room went silent. On screen, Karen laughed in the recording. "Exactly. Investors want flash. He's not built for visibility." Liam replied, "Then I'll take lead. He doesn't need to know the plan." A few people gasped. Sales froze mid-note. The VP stood up like he wanted to unplug the entire building. But the recording wasn't finished. In now Liam's voice, smug. "Honestly, if he quits after this, that's fine. We can replace him with a junior and save money. He's not going anywhere anyway. Karen answered, He won't quit. He's the type who just swallows it. My hands went cold. Not from shock, from recognition. This was exactly what they thought of me. Exactly what they counted on. The final line of the recording was Karen's. Good. Then we're agreed. Halo belongs to us now. The video cut. The live stream stayed live. The investors, some shocked, some furious, stared at the screen. Chat messages exploded. Is this real? Unethical behavior? This is extremely concerning. Karen lunged toward Victor. Turn it off. I can't, he said calmly. It's broadcasting from your primary feed. What do you mean you can't? She hissed. I mean, he said as he closed his laptop. Maybe you should have been more careful about what you say in rooms with cameras. Liam stumbled off screen, face pale. The VP rubbed his forehead like he was trying to erase the entire situation with his hand. And me? I sat in the corner, watching the empire they built on charm and arrogance crumble in real time. A strange calm settled over me, warm, solid, like a weight I'd carried for years suddenly lifted. Liam tried to recover. Oh, okay, looks like we're having technical issues. But investors aren't idiots. One of them unmuted. We're ending this call, and we expect a formal explanation from corporate by end of day. Then another, and a personnel change. Then silence. The call ended. The room didn't breathe. Victor closed his bag, nodded once in my direction, and said, They thought you were gone. You weren't. And he walked out, quietly, like a man finishing a job he'd been hired to do somewhere else entirely. Karen sank into a chair. Liam paced, muttering. The VP stared at the blank screen like it had just killed him. And me? I stood finally, straightened my shoulders, and walked out of the room without a word, because for the first time in months, the story wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. The company didn't implode that afternoon. It rotted quietly, the way buildings do when the foundation finally admits it's broken. HR locked themselves in a room with the VP. Karen disappeared for hours. Liam kept pacing the halls like he expected applause for surviving a scandal. Nobody spoke to me. Nobody looked at me. Not because they hated me. Because they didn't know what I was now. A victim, a threat, a mirror they didn't want to see themselves in. I didn't help them answer it. I packed my laptop, slid my badge into my pocket, and walked out before someone could pull me into a performative, we're all processing meeting. For the first time in months, my steps didn't feel heavy. I went home and slept like I'd been underwater for years and finally surfaced. The next morning, the emails began. Subject: Temporary suspension of leadership authority. Karen and Liam. Suspended pending investigation. Subject: Interim Oversight Committee. The VP, 3 HR leads, legal. Subject: Halo technical clarification needs sent to me. I stared at that last one for a long time, not because I wanted revenge, because I realized they finally had to talk to me the way they should have from the beginning, respectfully, directly, without putting someone else's name on my work. By noon, the VP asked to meet privately. He didn't sit behind his desk. He sat across from me, hands folded, throat clearing like a man about to admit he'd misjudged someone badly. I owe you an apology, he began. We mishandled Halo. We mishandled you. And the board. They want this fixed publicly, transparently, immediately. I waited. The investors were impressed with the product itself, he continued. They were furious about the leadership. They want the next demo led by the person who built it. A pause. Ethan, that's you. I didn't smile, not out of pride, out of exhaustion. What happens to them? I asked. Consequences, he said simply. Serious ones. He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. I nodded once. Then let's talk about the next steps. He exhaled like he'd been waiting for that sentence. The internal memo dropped that evening, effective immediately. Karen removed from her position. Liam terminated for cause. Halo placed under new leadership. No drama, no ceremony, just clean, necessary cuts. The office was silent the next morning when I walked in. Not awkward, cleared, like someone had opened all the windows overnight. People said, "Good morning," real ones, not the tight, fearful kind. Priya rolled her chair toward me, eyes wide. "They really gave you the project back?" I nodded. "About time," she whispered. And for the first time since the whole thing began, I felt something warm settle in my chest. Not revenge, not superiority, recognition. 3 days later, we held the new investor demo. No theatrics, no fabricated charisma, no one standing in front of my work pretending it was theirs. Just me. I walked on camera, adjusted my mic, and did the thing I'd been doing quietly for years, explaining complex systems in a way that didn't need flash to be understood. The investors asked real questions, and I answered them with real answers. No one doubted me. No one interrupted me. No one stole breath or credit or oxygen from the room. When it ended, the VP whispered, "That was flawless." But the best moment wasn't his praise. It was the chat window lighting up with, finally, the actual creator. Clear, precise, confident. Why wasn't he leading this from the start? After the call, the VP extended his hand. "We want you to head Halo officially," he said. "Title, team, salary adjustment, full autonomy." I didn't shake his hand right away. I looked at the empty chairs where Karen and Liam used to sit. People who thought I'd stay small forever. People who built their careers on volume instead of value. Then I shook his hand. "Let's build it right this time." When I left the office that evening, the sunset hit the glass wall just right, gold and sharp and clean, like the world wasn't brighter, just honest for once. Outside, someone leaned against a street lamp. Victor, the stranger who detonated everything. He didn't smile. He didn't explain. He didn't pretend to be anything other than what he was. He just said, "Bullies collapse fastest when the truth hits them in public. You'd be surprised how many companies forget that." "Why help me?" I asked. He shrugged lightly. "I don't help people, I correct systems." He turned to leave, paused. "And Ethan? You weren't as invisible as you thought." Then he walked away, disappearing into the city like someone who had another fire to expose. I drove home with the windows down, my badge in the passenger seat. My future no longer something people assigned to me. Halo, mine again. My work recognized, my voice finally heard. For the first time in a long time, silence didn't feel like being ignored. It felt like peace, the kind you earn, the kind you keep, and the kind no one steals again.